It has been funny as the rare live trade makes an appearance involving the local team during our show to see Greg Cody in real time go from, that's not surprising, ooh, good trade, less good. It's happened in the last few seconds as the information has trickled in on Minkah Fitzpatrick for Jalen Ramsey. We have done a pro football focused deep dive. We have consulted a Barry Jackson article. In his 6 years for the Steelers, Fitzpatrick has 18 interceptions, including 3 returned for touchdowns, 4 forced fumbles, and 6 tackles for loss. But last season was his worst. He permitted a bloated 127.6 passer rating in his coverage area, a huge drop from the previous 5 years. I suggest you go look at whether or not TJ Watt played in those games. I suspect there is a difference between the games he plays in and the games he doesn't in the Pittsburgh secondary.
That's a good theory, too. Apparently, they used him a lot different. He was more free roaming when he had his success over in Pittsburgh. But, look, he was ass last year. He was graded 44th in the NFL at his position. They were using him in the box a hell of a lot more. So not
At first,
good.
I thought you said he was asked something. No,
he was asked to play more in the box,
and he was asked.
And then he gave up a career high 5 touchdown surrendered, and he wasn't doing the. I know Greg loves turnovers so much. He wasn't forcing those many. On the other side of the coin, Jalen Ramsey was pretty good at corner, despite all the talk about him switching positions, and they did a lot with him in terms of sending him. He had batted balls at the line of scrimmage. He created a lot of pressures. He was actually quite good at the run game, was 16th among corners. However, when PFF...
He's a more versatile player.
When PFF put out a list of their top 10 corners, despite it not necessarily matching up with the grade, they gave him a top 10 spot in their top 10 rankings. So Jalen Ramsey, a pretty solid year at corner, despite everyone trying to move him over to safety. Now, it's natural to assume if they're giving up an all-pro safety and Minkah Fitzpatrick is a plan to finally move Jalen Ramsey over, would he be better being used the way that Minkah was? Because Minkah was proven over the course of a full season to struggle with that. So an interesting trade, no doubt.
I know these guys are all pros, but this feels like just a local trade. Like, is this that big of a trade nationally?
Dude, you have a reigning Pro Bowler in Jonnu Smith. You have 2 former All-Pros and Minkah Fitzpatrick and Jalen Ramsey. Yeah, this is a massive trade. You don't see trades like this in the NFL. You had Eric Dickerson for Cornelius Bennett trade, and like we mentioned, 21 years since the last All-Pro for All-Pro swap in the NFL.
For me, it's mostly a major national trade because it directly involves Aaron Rodgers in terms of what they're doing to make this a win-now moment for Aaron Rodgers, who they're not going to assume they have more than one season.
I think the most interesting part about what Greg Cody just said there is the only way that elevates into a space where people are talking about it as a game-changing type of trade is because you've already seen the paradigm shift of the Steelers and Dolphins used to be excellence as a national brand. Now they are regional phenomenons that when you get Aaron Rodgers and go this aggressively, win now with a trade, you're going to get people's attention because Pittsburgh is playing a different game by getting what is clearly the last year of Aaron Rodgers' career, incentivizing it and creating around him so that he has the dink and dunk that they tried to win the Super Bowl with Roethlisberger at the end with conservative offense. And let's see if TJ Watt can stay healthy.
And they needed to do something to upgrade the weapons on offense, too, because if you look at it, they kind of really, even though they added DK Metcalf, they really stripped away from that roster. Most people can't name their RB1. And now they bring in a Pro Bowler coming off a career year, a guy that's produced in their OC's system before. So it's a good move.
And this is the Dolphins essentially saying we don't want to rebuild because I would have thought these guys would have been traded for picks. We're building for the future. So this is them kind of being like, no, we don't want good picks. We want a player that can help us now.
I wanted to ask you guys off of a conversation that we began to have last week where I was lamenting when we talked about Max Kellerman that boxing hasn't been able to find what has always been its rightful place atop the combat sports. Over the weekend, Jake Paul beat Julio Cesar Chavez. You'd be forgiven for thinking it was the father. It was not. It was the son. He hadn't fought in a while. And Jake Paul continues to do a really extraordinary job of marketing where he's feeding on people who don't know anything about boxing. And so he's going and grabbing an assortment of smart names to make him a true boxing phenomenon in the pay-per-view age, where I can't even dismiss anymore his actual boxing skill. And it's not because he's beating name fighters. It's because he's done such a great job of picking the correct ones to fight, so that he's fooling the uneducated fan into thinking that he's a phenomenon, and he's made perception reality by picking the perfect marketed fights in order to he wasn't going to be able to top what he did with Netflix and Tyson in terms of a viewing experience, but he continues to win fights, and the phenomenon hasn't ended. And furthermore, on behalf of the circus of boxing, I find myself wounded for actual excellent fighters that it's marketing today that wins and not excellence.
Was marketing not always a huge part of what made this legend, though, in boxing? Like all of these names, it was first and foremost skill, but it was the legend that then grew around these guys. And as someone who is an uneducated boxing fan, like you started to say that Paul has turned himself into a pretty good fighter, but is it just a mirage? Like, how good is that skill if he can win these fights?
He's an okay fighter, but I can't have Ariel Helwani as the gatekeeper for MMA saying that John Jones's legacy is somehow tarnished because he didn't fight all comers and didn't fight all the best. And now I've got Jake Paul making his name only because he's stepping on names that don't have anything left. And the MMA fighters that he was fighting, none of them were strikers. You're fighting Anderson Silva 10 years after his prime. When is the last time this Cesar Chavez had fought? Because even when he was
fighting, it was Anderson Silva.
Even when he was fighting,
he lost.
In boxing, he was losing the last of his fights.
But like Ariel and John Bones Jones, what he also said was he's tested multiple times positive for performance-enhancing drugs. He's dodged the biggest names. That's why he doesn't consider him one of the greatest of all time. I don't think anyone considers Jake Paul the greatest boxer of all time. No. So it's not like the same thing.
And Ariel's from Montreal.
But right now I can make the argument that if I ask people listening to this, name a boxer.
Jake Paul.
Mike Tyson.
It's
Julio Cesar Chavez.
It's an odd thing that has happened where someone who is not quite an amateur fighter, he can fight professionally, poorly, that he is somebody who is beating an assortment of people who are spent and still has a conversation around him that allows him to make giant dollars. It's not I haven't seen a whole lot of people jerry-rig the modern game the way that the Paul brothers have on turning influencer status into genuine, real sports influence at a time where I've told you guys before that say what you will about Floyd Mayweather, he was well ahead of his time as a business in realizing the power that individual brands have in sports. LeBron was late to realizing it. Aaron Rodgers was late to realizing it. Tom Brady was late to realizing it. Floyd Mayweather maximized money because of how he figured out how to sell himself in the modern age. Jake Paul, I can make the argument that Jake Paul is a bigger star in combat sports than anyone Dana White presently has.
Yeah. I'd say quite easily.
Okay, so where are we in terms of the best or the most known fighter in the world is somebody who's not one of the 100 best fighters in the world?
We're in a bad place with boxing, but also they're giving the people what they want. They have a failure to develop their own stars, much like the UFC has now, but the UFC has at least shown you they can build back up after these valleys. They can have peaks again. They're in a valley right now. Boxing gives its biggest cards over to Saudi Arabia. It's usually on streaming platforms. People have to go behind a paywall. It's not super accessible to the sports fan. They don't have these super fights that get the attention of the people all that much. Boxing has a lot of issues, but also they'd argue, no, our sport is doing fine. Prize fighters get big-time purses. We're doing great with our buy rates. And even though we're not part of the sports nomenclature anymore, we're a huge booming business, especially with all that Saudi money pumping in.
Well, isn't Jake Paul the first self-made spectacle, the first YouTube star, the first influencer who has been so good at self-promotion that he has elevated himself to a level way beyond what his talent deserves?
Certainly the archetype for that.
Yeah, he is, and in a way that we haven't seen before. I mean, it's an individual sport, so way back to Cassius Clay becoming Muhammad Ali, we saw a guy with personality in the ring who was reading poetry, who became bigger than just a boxer. But this guy is doing it from YouTube. This guy is just literally manufacturing himself from nothing. And I'm going to say he's duped us all in the sense that we continue to talk about him like a legitimate big star, even though historically he is not.
No, but this is not a duping. This is one of the biggest marketing achievements of my sports lifetime. These sports are the gutter. They are filled with bad business and an assortment of immoralities. They are individual sports that don't require team play. To have someone who on merit hasn't climbed to what is one of the most meritorious things there are. Can you beat other people up for money when it's just you against him? Like, merit doesn't get more measured by everyone than that. This person has skirted merit. It's not all marketing, but it's a genius celebration of marketing. It's just enough boxing talent to allow the marketing to make him rule combat sports when it comes to fame right now without needing the credibility.
This is happening all over. Yeah. This is happening all over social media. All these TikTok social media people, they're like, what's my next avenue? Some have gone boxing. Addison Rae is a big music star now. Yep. Some try to be stand-up comedians. It's just like, we get this fame, we have this following, where's my avenue? And Jake picked this avenue, and it started at the beginning as just, let me fight my other YouTube friends, and he's decent at it, so he's just riding this wave.
And if you hear this as something that sounds like criticism, and I understand why the tone of it would, and I understand why specifically me and Cody talking about this might seem like the establishment mainstream is threatened by whatever is the democracy of the internet. But I have for years wondered what happens to sports content when everyone's in the game, when everyone has access, and more specifically during a time where mainstream media crumbles, where you've had it, if not contaminated, eaten up by the number of different options that the person listening to this has. I have told people before that the success of our business model is at least in part because of the numbers that we have of people, but it's also the amount of time that they spend with something. Jake Paul has mastered, how do I get fans? Not sports fans. Fans. How can I be interesting enough? And of course, he would choose the carnival game that has no rules in terms of media governance. Boxers say and do things that are worse than anyone else because everyone knows that that's the sewer. And whatever your corporate sponsorships are, you make your money with your fists, except this guy doesn't actually have to. Fights old men, fights old names, fights people who aren't actually strikers, and continues to fool a gullible public the way it's easy to fool the uneducated and take money from them these days. It seems easier than it ever has been.
Well, when I used the word duped, I was referring to a gullible public. You know, you refer to him as a marketing genius, and he is, and he's a self-manufactured bad boy. That's why after this most recent fight, the crowd is booing him, and he's saying, F you, shut up, F you to the crowd. That's the persona.
The skill's not boxing, though. The skill's attention getting.
And he's brilliant at it. Okay, but I just am sort of hesitant to just cheer a marketing achievement instead of a sports achievement.
But it's not just a marketing achievement, though. He's beating name fighters. He look.
He beat Mike Tyson.
He's
and he
beating
beat the son of a name fighter
yes, he beat
who
Mike
lost to
Tyson.
Anderson Silva.
He works hard.
I don't think this is working. Actually, I think the Mike Tyson thing worked, and people went there not for Jake Paul. They went there to see Mike Tyson possibly die in a boxing ring. And we saw Mike Tyson pass up a clean shot at Jake Paul. I don't think this stuff is working. I don't know anybody that watched this fight, by the way. It was on DAZN during the Club World Cup. We're talking about it after. We're probably the people in the media space that are talking about it the most. I think he needs to start challenging himself because the novelty of Jake Paul talking his way into watching you see if he can get punched in the face or not, I think that's worn thin. It wore thin after he lost. And he had to go to the Mike Tyson trough.
But he'll eventually just jump to the next thing, right? Because the way that this is working in every industry, whether it's boxing, whether it's music, whether eventually sports media, it's creating fame for yourself as an influencer first, and then picking some sort of quote-unquote profession from there that you go into that industry and you master. So to Chris's point, Addison Rae, she was just a TikTok influencer who was studying sports broadcasting in college, but she blew up and then has tried to find her niche, and now it's music. Why? Because all of her followers are flooding Spotify and gaming, not those algorithms, but listening to the songs. And you have to have a quality of music or boxing or whatever it might be that is up to snuff to be there, but you'll end up having way more success because of the fame that you gained on the front end.
They take a lot of hacks, too. They'll try a bunch of different things. Speed tried a song, and it was terrible.
Everyone's tried to be a DJ at one point.
Yeah, that is going to be a big-time revenue stream.
Is it even possible? I'm dead serious about this when I ask the question because I was listening to a band. I was listening to just old rock music this weekend, and I was wondering to myself if it is even possible for a 90s rock and roll band to exist today as a discovery given how we're making music these days. Is it even possible? Never mind the idea that rock and roll is dead. I'm just talking about, is it even possible for a 2020, the way music is made today, for a band to break nationally the way that we're making things?
The same way that individual artists would, which is going on TikTok and having a song that ends up streaming enough to where you gain that popularity on the front end. But bands are few and far between these days. It's why, like, the 1975 was headlining Glastonbury, and they're like the only band left.
I want to die. Just Dan Le Batard looking into a camera saying rock and roll is dead. They're bands.
I'm not saying rock
they're
and
bands,
roll is
and
dead.
TikTok is you said it. You said rock and roll is dead. I think there are plenty of rock bands that have burst onto the scene lately. And I think rock music is exciting. I'm a little disappointed about rock music's lack of things to say right now. It seems as though coming out and being overtly political works against people's best interests. I think there's like a Rage Against the Machine type of hole left in rock music right now, but there's plenty of exciting bands. Fontaine CC, Idols, Turnstiles having a huge moment right now. Bands are blowing up. It's a good moment for rock.
How about Coach O at a wedding? How about Coach O at a wedding singing and dancing? Can they get
Tigers and roll away!
Look at this guy. Shirt's coming off. But whose wedding is this that he just feel? I mean, I guess you're Coach O. You just take it off.
He's always shirtless. I always see him running on the beach shirtless.
You have to be somewhat close to the people getting married to do that, right? Or you're just Coach O and you do it.
Yeah.
Do you have to be, put it on the poll at Le Batard Show, do you have to be close to the people getting married to take your shirt off while dancing on the dance floor?
It's an
of their
aggressive
wedding?
move if you're not close.
But I
You
feel
can't
like
be a +1.
Coach O has a different set of rules, I think. I think Coach O, if Coach O is at your wedding, you're going to be disappointed if he doesn't take his shirt off.
Was he invited to the wedding is my question.
Can I hear what he said at the beginning there? Because I didn't hear what he shouted. What was the drunken slogan that he shouted?
Go Tigers and roll away!
Roll who?
Was it
Wayne?
Dwayne Wade's
Wayne?
wedding?
Maybe it was.
Roll Wade.
What?
Go Tigers and roll away!
Also, he's in recovery, Dan.
From the weekend?
Go Tigers and roll away!
Man, I want to get to the bottom of this. What the hell's he saying there?
Is it Wade? Is it Wayne?
Go Tigers and roll away!
Okay.
Someone wave? Maybe he's saying.
Go Tigers and roll away.
Wade.
The
Aaron
point
Wade.
is that he was on the dance floor and he was shirtless. He was wearing a dress shirt and he took it off entirely the way you imagined he would take it off, one seductive
Go Tigers and roll away.
button at a time.
He's got to struggle. He struggles with the wrist. Always a tricky part of the button down.
The people around him cleared as if they knew. Like there were a group of people around him while his shirt was on, and then his shirt got taken off, but not all of it. The arms
So
and hands,
vulnerable.
the arms and hands got stuck in the sleeves inside out, and then he looked like an inflatable car dealership man.
It's not just that part. It's the fact that he goes to unbutton the shirt and he unbuttons every button but the bottom button.
I've been there.
And then still goes to take it off over his head, and that's where he gets stuck. Why not just finish the button?
Roll away.
He didn't uncuff the wrist.
Dancing with the shirt.
Do you put your foot like once you have it connected to both wrists? Do you push down with your thigh?
What has happened here is that he's already started to undo the shirt, and now he's in too deep, and now the shirt is inside out, and the sleeve is caught on his expensive watch, the watch. And so he gets it stuck over his
It's on both wrists. My man's in a straitjacket right now.
But it's because he didn't unbutton the sleeves. He didn't unbutton his cufflinks. That looks about like what I expected it to look like. And what they don't show you is the sort of murmuring lack of grace as you stumble off the floor, realizing that you haven't successfully taken off your shirt and you're just wearing a dress shirt as handcuffs now in front of you.
Go Tigers and roll away.
He's beloved, yeah?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Inexplicably.
Speaking of beloved coaches, what do they do with Corso? Because Corso's having his final college game day. He's going to put on Brutus the Buckeye, we all assume, to make it a full circle, beautiful moment. And then you have a full season. College game day is known for the headgear. Do they retire the bit? Do they give it to someone like Saban or McAfee?
Well, I think like McAfee kind of has turned his pick into the I'm going to engage the crowd. So
They
I
said
think,
they're retiring it. They're not doing it
No,
anymore.
I know. No, he's not going to do headgear. But I just think they will now end with McAfee will do his big, I got some dogs over, whoo, whoo, where he gets the whole crowd. That's how I think they'll switch from headgear to just McAfee, make your big exciting pick.
Really? I think they're going to kind of need that headgear. They're going to need that moment. I think they should make the guest do it.
But you can't have another, that's just his thing,
Well,
right?
You can have a role if it's the
Bradley
guest.
Cooper putting on a headgear
Oh,
is
that's
going
awesome.
to be insulting.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm going to be
Are
like,
you
no.
kidding? Bradley Cooper putting on headgear is amazing.
I'd be like, that's
You want
not
to talk about social interaction? That's great. Actually, we fixed it.
You can't do
Have
that.
Bradley Cooper do
just
it.
him every week.
You think the solution to all things related to losing Corso is covering the beautiful face of Bradley Cooper?
At the very end, have them do a headgear
Mike,
thing.
You got to retire the headgear thing.
Hey, we have
already
the hey,
did. They
here's,
are retired.
here's
That's
the
what I
singer
mean, but,
from
he's
Rascal
arguing,
Flatts. He's our guest this week. Hold the umbrella. Boom. I got a bulldog on my head at the end. That's great. That's buku. That's a social media bonanza right there.
Now you're talking Gary. Now you're talking my language. Gary Levant.
Hit him with that voice.
You guys think Bradley Cooper is the solution? Billy just said it's retired, it's over. You got to come
That's
up
a big
with a new
mistake.
gig.
Yeah, but
That's a
he's
big mistake.
just saying they shouldn't.
I
shouldn't.
didn't decide it.
They should not.
Gotta
What
retire
is
it.
it going to end? We need a big booming moment that's going to pop right before kickoff of the noon games. We're just going to have a pick, and there's going to be Pat McAfee doing the thing that he's going to be doing all throughout the weekend from his show, like roll tide, ho, ho. Well, we've seen that, and that's his thing. But you can't end with something that you've seen all week.
That's what they're going to do. I'm telling you. They're going to move him to the last spot. He's going to get the last
You guys
pick.
were telling me that last year Fox was making inroads with its show. That show, the College Game Day, is one of the most successful brands in the history of sports television. And I don't believe that Corso is a ratings game breaker one way or the other, as beloved as he is. I don't believe that him not being there to do the one silly thing is going to be what puts one pregame show over the other.
I would regularly. That's just always put it on in the morning TV for me. But if I miss it and it's like 11:50, I always am like, oh, let me go to the pit. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna do that as much now.
You won't. No, you obviously won't. Obviously,
right.
if you're going to the end of college game day, at least in part because your college slothy Saturday is starting. Right?
Oh man, soon.
Your
Right
sloth,
around the corner.
your
9 Saturdays.
Let's get through July.
noon sloth. I think it's what are we 10 weeks away? I heard the other day and it made me sad. I actually heard the other day somebody start a segment with Ken Schottenheimer make the Cowboys successful again, and I'm like, no one can answer that question successfully. There's not a person on earth who could give a good answer.
That's why
to
it's
that
a great question.
But it's why it's on in June and July. That's right. It's just like Cowboys, Ken Schottenheimer, make them successful. Go ahead. Show me all the people who are great at answering that. Go ahead. I'll wait.
Yeah, you know who isn't? Jerry Jones isn't great at answering that.
We are starved.
Have a sip of your coffee. That was a good answer. That was a good contribution right there. Have a sip.
We haven't heard from him in a while. We've been missing Greg Cody. This hasn't felt like a Greg Cody Monday.
Is he writing his column?
the way that it needs to?
I'm writing it in my mind.
Check his computer.
He wasn't interested. He wasn't interested in the column when it was just Jalen Ramsey. But all of a sudden, some more names got
Heard a lot of
involved.
pecking over
And then,
there.
Yeah, there were some clicks involved, and all of a sudden he's sniffing around trying to figure out how he can get to the front of the internet line.
Quick remark about Corso retiring. You have to retire the big comical papier-mâché head. Here's what's going to happen. I predict this. Papier-mâché head.
Yeah.
Here's what's going to happen. The game of the week, you're going to have the two mascots side stage. Okay? You're not going to know who they're going to pick. You're going to find out who they pick when the winning mascot bounds joyfully onto the center of the stage. That's the way they're going to replace the Corso head.
So just way more boring.
Well, it's dramatic.
Hey, it's an idea.
You got the two mascots there nudging each other, playfully. Who's going to be
All right,
picked?
no bad ideas. What about a wrestling ring? Two opposing fans get in the ring, wrestle.
Nah.
Okay.
You need the paper mache heads. Greg, I have an idea. What if you make like a deal with like Hasbro or whoever it is, right?
Right.
And you have giant Rock'em Sock'em robot mascots.
Now you're talking.
And then you start going like this, and it's just dance, a boom, 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 and then all of a sudden, the mascot who loses, head explodes with confetti coming out and candy like a piñata.
I'm telling you what, Billy has that
Thank you.
nailed.
Thank you.
Nailed it. Patent that.
Black Sabbath with Ozzy Osbourne is playing its final show ever in Birmingham, England, the day after July 5th.
They say final show, but
July 6th?
July 6th?
It's like John Jones retiring. You don't believe it?
another good one. Take another sip.
No.
You don't believe that Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath are retiring? Why
hell
wouldn't you
no.
believe that? I would believe that.
I will
It's,
say, and I love Ozzy Osbourne, I will say he's had pretty serious health problems. So because of the health, not because of the age, because of the health, it could be.
You're
real.
willing to allow this
Yes.
retirement as being above your
I am.
skepticism in this
Yes.
one instance because Ozzy's sick.
Yes.
My favorite holiday is the day after July 3rd.
It's the most dangerous holiday, the day
I
after
don't know why
July
you
3rd.
presented July 6th this way. I'm kind of reeling right now. He's going to play with Black Sabbath the day after July 5th.
I meant to say, you know what I meant to say? I meant to say the day after July 4th, and instead I got stuck.
July 5th.
It's late in the show, and I'm stumbling around. So I meant to say after July 4th. Thank you for seizing on that immediately.
Go Tigers and roll away!
You were trying to take your dress shirt off, and it got caught on the wrist.
I want you guys to imagine what that felt like to Coach O immediately when the camera stopped, okay? So he's taken off his dress shirt poorly. The bottom button has not come off. He has taken it over his head and slid it down inside out, down both his arms, but it's now clearly stuck on both of his wrists. And he
Starts doing a dance move with it, realizes he's got nothing else, and it just goes above the head.
he can't get it off, though. He has.
And when you can't get it off, there's one move to do.
That's a new game day tradition. Have a logo painted on his chest.
What do you do if you are trying to keep a show alive that is the most popular thing that you have almost ever had as a network, right? If I was to make a list of most popular things that ESPN has ever had, SportsCenter's on the list and College Game Day's on the list, and there aren't a lot of other things that would be above those two things.
They very clearly have pivoted some, and credit to the addition of McAfee leaning into the energy of Game Day. It probably got a little too antiseptic for a little bit. My wife loves tuning in for those field goal competitions that he has. I think using what Pat does really well in those environments are pretty good, but the show has changed. The reason why I gravitated a little bit more to Big Noon is a lot of the producers that used to work on College Game Day, ESPN decided to put the resources to talent, bring in a Pat McAfee. But when I think of College Game Day, yeah, it's the headgear, but second are those like Rinaldi pieces, those pieces that tug at the heartstrings that make you rooting for Purdue on your couch on a Saturday evening. That's the stuff that's a secret sauce, I thought, to College Game Day. So I do gravitate towards those think pieces a lot more that Fox has been doing. But I think Game Day probably had a difficult time navigating that transition in year one of McAfee, leaned into it a little bit more year two, and it was smoother.
Cody, can I ask you here, because I don't want to normalize what it is that just happened in the news stream yesterday. LeBron James, as the oldest player in the sport, opted into a $50 million contract. He's one of two players with a no-trade clause, along with Bradley Beal, ridiculously enough. And immediately after opting in, his agent, Rich Paul, said a bunch of stuff that made it seem like he's already at odds with the Lakers because obviously they're a team playing for the future, but LeBron wants to win right now. And my question to you is, would you believe Billy's theory, for example, that people like Aaron Rodgers and LeBron James just want to keep getting attention at all times? That this is creating attention because for the first time in LeBron's career, he's playing the last year of a contract. That's the first time that that's happening in 23 years, where he's playing in the last year of a contract. It may or may not be his last year. Do you believe that someone like this, in the most nefarious of skepticisms, is doing this for attention, craves the attention that much? I don't believe that. I'm not willing to believe that, but I'm surprised always by the number of people who want to believe it.
I don't think you can be LeBron James and have the length and the breadth of career you've had without craving the spotlight and not wanting to ever give it up, ever. And he's not ready yet. I think what's happened in the last 24 hours tells us that LeBron James thinks he has one last hurrah, and it ain't in L.A. He wants to go to another team. He wants to be able to pick that team. He's going to have one last season next year or the year after, and it's going to be glorious in his mind.
There's two teams that immediately stand out when you think about it. It's Cleveland, where he could go back and be a hero once again, putting a one seed over the top.
Here we go.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say what you think.
And
I'm
then
gonna say the Dallas Mavericks. Because they have Kyrie, they have Anthony Davis, who seemingly he didn't want moved out of town. They also have Cooper Flagg. That's a team that he probably assumes he could join if they give up the rest of their assets and win big. But the Eastern Conference is the place that is the most enticing. Obviously, there's Cleveland at the top, but there are some other teams that would probably be interested in adding.
So now
LeBron
Nico
James.
trades Cooper Flagg for LeBron James. Wow. That would be a plot twist.
There would be at least a half a dozen teams
That's not
where
what
the
I'm saying.
rumors came up, including the one we're in right now, Miami.
Yes.
There's no question that there will be returns to the Heat.
If you had to
rumors.
guess, does he end this season with the Lakers, yes or no? Because I'd guess no.
Ooh,
I'd vote yes.
this is a pick 'em line.
Might not start there.
I'd vote no because they're not going to win a championship, and he knows it, and it should be Luka's team now, and he kind of gets in the way.
I think he tries to get to New York.
Could you imagine a LeBron James move at a trade deadline? That'd be nuts.
I mean, he's going to be the one who orchestrates it.
Yep.
Just a quick correction. The final concert is not the day after July 5th. It is, in fact, July 5th, the day after July 4th.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Also a correction, T.J. Watt played in all the games that Minka Fitzpatrick did the last 2 seasons.
Look, every crew's got roles. On a team, on a group text, at a watch party. You've got the stat nerd, the vibes guy, the one who thinks they're the coach, and then there's the real MVP, the person that brings the cooler. And what's in that cooler? If it's not Miller Lite, I'm checking the roster. It's a 50th anniversary of Miller Lite. 50 years of showing up in big moments. Post-game tailgates, NBA watch parties, road trips to road games where you swore the refs were out to get you. Through it all, that clean, crisp Miller Lite taste just gets it done. 96 calories, 3.2 carbs. It's light, but it doesn't tap out early. You're over there arguing over who the GOAT is, shouting about NIL deals, someone's grilling. Miller Lite is always there, playing its role to perfection. Brewed for taste, simple ingredients, a legend since 1975, and still a first ballot Hall of Famer in my cooler. Miller Lite. Great taste. 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Cheers to 50 years of Miller Lite. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Juju Gotti is with us. We're going to update the polls here in a second. Where are we starting, Juju? What do you want to start with?
We got some big news in the WNBA today. They've announced that they're going to be having Cleveland, Detroit, and Philadelphia expansion teams starting 2028. And that's already after Toronto gets a team next year, as well as another team next year. So the WNBA is growing and growing. Congratulations to the W.
Juju, there are rumors that they're going to reignite some old team names and branding because Cleveland and Detroit had teams, famously the Shock in Detroit. I saw an article a couple months ago saying that they try to get those trademarks back. Is that the whispers that we're going to see the return of some legacy brands here in the W?
Too. Portland's the other one along with Toronto.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. The legacies are back. I got a Shock jersey right here. I'm going to dismantle the wall, but yeah, wishful thinking. Salute to the Shock. Welcome back. I think that with as much talent that comes out of the high schools and the colleges every single year, Destiny Harden's still out there without a team. A lot of big names, great players within the actual NCAA. This will provide them a great opportunity to be professionals, and I can't wait for it to happen.
Cody, have you followed the Ace Bailey story at all in the NBA?
I have.
What have you enjoyed about the Ace Bailey story? There doesn't happen a whole lot in the draft where you've got somebody who's an anarchist.
I've enjoyed the complete pivot, the complete and predictable pivot he's made from I don't want to go there, it's the last place on earth I wanted to go, to I'm embracing it. Nobody's looking forward to playing there more than I am. That's what I've enjoyed.
Right. What can you say? His agent he had a rough week. Some of his old memes and some of his old videos looking like a big boss came back to bite him. So I think the best thing for Ace Bailey to do right now, report to camp, show them folks what you got, and be who you've been the entire time we've known you, a hooper.
Yeah, I am interested, though, in any possible carryover here. Like, is Ace Bailey all of a sudden a guy who has to sort of win over the home crowd, or do they just forget about him not wanting to go there and now acting like this is the place he wants to be?
Everyone will get very forgetful as soon as he plays well, or if he doesn't play well, then they will never forget.
Right.
They will hold on to it forever, and they will hate him with a rabid fury that is unending.
Yes.
But none of this will matter if he plays well.
Correct.
It's important for
Yes,
that
we
part. What are your thoughts on Billy seeing over the weekend that the freeze is a little bit more beatable than he thought the freeze was? The freeze got smoked by a woman this weekend.
Yeah, I think Billy laid down the blueprint. I feel like he got on the airwaves and said, hey, the secret to beating the freeze is give out a little something for the freeze at first, and then turn on your jets whenever he turns on his first jet, and you will be out of here. I think my sister listened to Billy the Duke drop the Dookie bomb on the lady.
Dan, failure to plan is planning to fail.
Let's update some polls. Yeah, you mentioned
on that lady.
On that lady, yes, we dropped Dookie at LeBatard Show. Let's update some of these polls.
Are you really living if you're not running away scared from the fireworks? 72% of the audience says, no, you're not living.
Yes.
A slow jog. Chris Cody said that the happiest time on 4th of July.
That's when you feel like you're living.
Juju, how do you feel about a guy that's way too excited to purchase illegal fireworks? That's a big red flag, right? You know everything there is to know about that person.
There's camera. There is video somewhere of me with with arms filled with explosives leaving the fireworks.
But we're talking
store.
about Mike's talking about the crazy people who get like me going to get the sad $50 pack from Publix. That's cool, right? I'm good.
I got 2 words for you. Pierre Paul.
Yeah.
Neither here nor there. Are we raising a generation of children?
Oh, what, too soon, really?
And some would say is here and there.
Giants owner John Mara
And
also
everywhere.
today said he doesn't know how many fingers JPP has.
Here, hand there.
Are we raising a generation of children who don't know what a nickel looks like? 92% of the audience says, yes, we are. Last poll, do you have to be close to the people getting married if you take your shirt off on the reception dance floor? 83% of the audience says, yes, you do. And those are your polls.
See you later, Juju.
Yes, sir.